On October 19, 2017, astronomers at the Pan-STARRS telescope in Hawaii detected something that should have been impossible, an object moving through our solar system. But it hadn't come from any planet, any asteroid belt, any comet cloud we knew about. It had come from outside. From interstellar space. They named it Oumuamua, Hawaiian for scout or messenger, the first known visitor from another star system. For 6 weeks, telescopes around the world tracked it as it accelerated past the sun and back out into the darkness. Scientists called it a cigar-shaped asteroid. Some speculated it was a comet. A few suggested it might be artificial, a probe from an alien civilization. Then it left our solar system, and the speculation ended. The official story became natural object, unusual shape, nothing more. But 7 years later, a radio astronomer in New Mexico discovered something in the archive data, something that had been transmitting the entire time. Oumuamua traveled through our system, a signal, not from any human source. And when she decoded what it said, Dr. Sarah Chen realized we'd made a terrible mistake. We thought Oumuamua was a messenger. It was. But the message wasn't meant for us. The Very Large Array sits in the high desert plains of New Mexico. 27 radio dishes, each 82 feet across, arranged in a Y pattern stretching for miles. Dr. Sarah Chen had been working there for 11 years. Radio astronomy, searching for patterns in cosmic noise. Pulsars, quasars, the faint whispers of galaxies dying billions of light years away. It was January 14, 2025. Late shift, 2 a.m. She wasn't supposed to be reviewing the Oumuamua data. That project had been closed for years, archived, analyzed, filed away. The object was long gone. 17 light months away by now, hurtling back into interstellar space. But Chen had a habit of revisiting old data, looking for things others missed. She'd pulled up the radio observations from October and November 2017, every frequency the VLA had recorded, while Oumuamua passed through our system. Hundreds of hours of data, most of it dismissed as background noise, solar interference, terrestrial radio pollution. At 2:47 a.m. she found it, a pattern, repeating every 11.3 seconds. Faint, buried deep in the noise floor. Easy to miss if you weren't looking for it. But once she isolated it, enhanced it, filtered out the interference, there it was. A signal. Not random, not natural, mathematical. Chen's first thought was terrestrial interference. A satellite. A radio station. Some piece of human technology bleeding into the data. But the signal's origin point moved, tracked perfectly with Oumuamua's trajectory. As the object traveled from Pegasus constellation past the Sun and back out toward the constellation Andromeda, the signal moved with it. For 6 weeks in 2017, as Oumuamua crossed our solar system, it had been broadcasting, and no one had noticed. Chen called her colleague, Dr. Marcus Webb, at 3:15 a.m. He arrived 40 minutes later. By sunrise, they'd confirmed it. The signal was real. It had come from Oumuamua, and it was still in the data, a ghost transmission, recorded but never heard. The question was, what did it say? The signal was encrypted, or encoded, or something. Not in any format Chen recognized, not binary, not frequency modulation, not amplitude variation. It was structured differently, like a language built on mathematical concepts humans had never formalized. For 3 days, Chen and Webb worked in isolation. They didn't tell their supervisor, didn't file a report. If they were wrong, if this was just some bizarre natural phenomenon or a equipment glitch, they'd look like fools. Careers had ended over less, but on the 4th day, Chen had a breakthrough. The signal wasn't encoding information the way humans do. It was encoding relationships, mathematical relationships, geometric patterns, prime numbers, Fibonacci sequences, pi to 1,000 decimal places, universal constants, things any technological civilization would recognize. It was a key. A translation matrix. Once Chen understood the structure, the rest came quickly. By January 22nd, they decoded the first section of the transmission. It was a star map. Our solar system, shown from an external perspective. The Sun, at the center. 8 planets in their orbits. Asteroid belt. Kuiper belt. All labeled with precise mathematical coordinates. But there were marks. Highlights. 7 locations flagged in the transmission. Chen pulled up the coordinates. Location 1, Jupiter's moon Europa, latitude 12.4 degrees south, longitude 94.2 degrees west. Beneath the ice sheet. Her breath caught. 6 months ago, there had been news. A research station on Europa, gone silent. The official story was equipment failure, but rumors had circulated. Something found under the ice. Something that shouldn't exist. She checked the second location. Location 2, Mars, Jezero crater. Exact coordinates where NASA's Perseverance rover had photographed something. Geometric blocks, 7 of them. Arranged in a pattern. The images had leaked briefly before being classified. Chen's hands were shaking now. Location 3, Saturn's moon titan. Kraken Mare. The Methane Sea. Depth 1. 247 meters. A submarine expedition. Lost contact. Recovery mission found the black box. Then sealed the entire project. Location 4. Earth's moon. Shackleton Crater region. Underground. The Artemis 3 base. Evacuated in 2028. Officially, equipment failure. Unofficially, something in the lava tubes. Location 5, Asteroid 16, Psyche. Core depth, 2.1 kilometers. A mining crew. Found something. A perfect sphere. Brought it aboard their ship. Then, silence. Chen looked at Webb. These are all real, she whispered. Every location. There have been incidents, discoveries, things that were classified or covered up. Webb nodded slowly. The transmission is pointing to them, like a map of contamination sites. Locations 6 and 7 were in the outer solar system, places humanity hadn't reached yet. But according to the transmission, something was there too. But the star map wasn't the end of the transmission. There was more. The second section of the transmission was harder to decode. Denser. More complex. It took Chen and Webb another week. When they finally cracked it, they wished they hadn't. It was a message. In mathematical language. Translated to conceptual meaning. Quarantine Zone 847. Marker system operational. Boundary integrity. Maintained. Then, timestamp marked at the moment, Oumuamua passed Mars orbit on October 25, 2017. Marker interference detected. Europa site compromised. Timestamp November 3, 2017, when Oumuamua was near Earth. Marker interference detected. Mars site compromised. The transmission continued. Each time, Oumuamua passed one of the marked locations, the same notation. Compromised, compromised, compromised. Then, at the end of the transmission, sent as, Oumuamua left our solar system on November 20th, 2017. Quarantine integrity failure. Candidate species 19 displays pattern. Unauthorized marker contact. Assessment protocol required. Inspection dispatch. Authorized. Estimated arrival, 847 planetary rotations. Chen did the math. 847 days. From November 20th, 2017. That was. She checked the calendar. The deadline had already passed. Months ago. No. Wait. She recalculated. The transmission used Earth rotational periods. 24-hour days. But the countdown was, from the moment Oumuamua sent the message, traveling at light speed back to wherever it came from. The actual countdown wouldn't start until the message arrived at its destination, depending on how far away that was. Sarah. Webb's voice was tight. There's another section, a location marker, where the message was sent to. Chen opened the file. The coordinates pointed to a region of space in the constellation Cygnus, 47 light-years from Earth. If Oumuamua's message had been transmitted from our solar system in November 2017 traveling at light speed, it would arrive at Cygnus in 2064. Then, the inspectors would leave. Traveling at whatever speed beings capable of building, Oumuamua could manage. If they could reach even 10% light speed, they'd arrive here around 2110, Webb said quietly. Chen shook her head. No, look at this part, the countdown. 847 days. That's not when they arrive. That's the compliance period. The warning window. She pulled up the final section of the transmission, the part that had taken longest to decode. It was a timer, a countdown. But it wasn't counting down to their arrival. It was counting down to our response deadline. The transmission was clear. Quarantine Zone 847 had experienced unauthorized marker contact. Candidate Species 19, Humanity, had interfered with the markers at 7 locations. We had 847 days from the moment we decoded this message to what? Fix it? Prove we understood? Stop interfering? The transmission didn't say. It just said, assessment protocol required. Chen checked the date, January 29th, 2025. They decoded the message 6 days ago, which meant humanity now had 841 days to figure out what the hell assessment protocol meant, and what happened if we failed. Chen and Webb sat in silence for a long time. Finally, Webb spoke. We have to report this. Government, NASA, someone. Chen didn't answer right away. She was thinking about Europa, Mars, Titan, the Moon, 16, Psyche. Every location where humanity had found something. Artifacts, structures, things that shouldn't exist. Things that were. What did the transmission call them? Markers. Quarantine markers. They weren't left for us, she said slowly. They were left around us. Like warning signs. Boundary markers, telling whoever might be out there. Dangerous species inside. Do not approach. Webb nodded. And we touched them. Disturbed them. Brought them onto our ships, into our stations. We treated them like archaeological finds. Like they were meant to be studied. But they were warnings. Chen finished. And by disturbing them, we proved we were exactly the kind of species that needs to be quarantined. She pulled up the transmission again, read through the decoded sections. Candidate Species 19. That meant there had been 18 others. 18 previous species in this solar system, or in this quarantine zone. What had happened to them, and what were these inspectors coming to do? Chen thought about the wording. Assessment protocol required. Not sterilization, not elimination, assessment. Maybe that was good. Maybe it meant humanity would get a chance to explain, to prove we weren't a threat. Or maybe it meant something worse. Maybe we'd already failed the test. And the assessment was just a formality before the sentence was carried out. Chen reported the discovery on February 1st, 2025. Within 6 hours, her facility was locked down. FBI, Department of Defense, NASA officials, people in suits who didn't give their names. The data was seized. She and Webb were separated, debriefed, and informed that everything they'd discovered was now classified under national security protocols. They were told not to speak about it. To anyone. Ever. Chen spent 3 days in a hotel room answering the same questions over and over. Then they let her go, back to work, back to her normal life, as if nothing had happened. But 2 weeks later, she received a package. No return address. Inside, a USB drive. On it, her complete analysis, the decoded transmission, everything. And a note, typed on plain paper. They know. They're deciding what to do. But you should know. The countdown is real. 823 days remaining. Some of us are trying to fix this. Some think we should prepare for what's coming. Some think we should hide it from the public. You get to decide what you do with this information. A friend. Chen looked at the USB drive for a long time. She thought about the 7 markers, the artifacts we disturbed. Europa's sphere, Mars's blocks, Titan's machine, the lunar carvings, the 16 Psyche beacon. All of them, parts of a system we didn't understand. A quarantine network, built by someone, something, to keep humanity contained until we were ready, or until we weren't. And now, because we'd touched them, studied them, brought them into our stations and ships, the inspectors were coming. In 823 days, we'd find out what assessment protocol really meant. Chen copied the files, encrypted them, sent them to 3 journalists she trusted. If humanity was about to be judged, we deserved to know. The news broke on March 1, 2025. Oumuamua transmission decoded. Quarantine warning detected. Governments denied it, called it a hoax. Conspiracy theory. But astronomers around the world started checking the data. And they found it. The signal. The transmission. All of it. By March 15th, the denials had stopped. Emergency UN sessions. Classified briefings. International space agencies quietly halting all missions to the 7 marker sites. And everyone, everywhere, waiting, counting down. To the day the inspectors arrive. To the day we find out if we passed the test. Or if candidate species 19 is about to become candidate species failed.